Hey everyone, welcome back to the Founder Series, where we talk about the business of medicine, the biology of midlife, and how to build a life and body that carry you into your next decades with confidence. I'm Dr. Rebecca Hurdle. I'm a board certified osteopathic family medicine physician, a certified menopause practitioner, and founder of Osteopathic Midlife Health, where we care for patients virtually across multiple states. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Founder Series. And I have one of my Minnow besties here with me today. All right. Dr. Aoife O'Sullivan is a board certified family medicine physician and a certified menopause specialist dedicated to empowering women through their midlife health journeys. Originally trained in Ireland, she completed medical school and residency there before moving to the US in 2004, where she completed a second residency at the University of Maryland. Her diverse clinical background includes general medicine, HIV care, gender-affirming care, urgent care, and emergency medicine. Experience she brings to her current focus is expert individualized menopause care. Dr. O'Sullivan is the founder of Portland Menopause Doc, a telemedicine practice serving patients in Oregon and Washington. She's also the co-founder of Empower, a group of 4 physicians dedicated to educating clinicians and the community on women's midlife care. As an educator and frequent podcast guest, she lectures widely on menopause and sexual health, is a tutor at the University of South Wales, and is a contributor to midlife women's health research. She also co-hosts the Dusty Muffins, and you
Hey,
all know all about that. So we are 2 out of the 3 Dusty
two
Muffins here.
muffins.
And that is
Yeah.
our podcast that brings humor, facts, and empowerment to menopause conversations. Thanks for coming and hopping on today.
Thanks for inviting me, Rebecca. This is fun.
This is so much fun because, we have so much fun on the Dusty Muffins, and this one is so great because it's, focuses more on things like founding, and because we became founders kind of together
Yeah.
at the same time. And,
Yeah.
we both have incredible medical school just history and things that women physicians have gone through. I think physicians in general, but then I think even female physicians, what we went through in medical school and residency, the hours that were put in. And, really for people, I think like you and I never wanted anything different.
No, I know. My parents told me I wanted to be a doctor from the time I could speak. There's nobody in medicine in my family. We don't have any
Same here.
nurses. We don't have any doctors. Nothing. Dad was an accountant, and mom went back to college when I went to college, and she did law.
That's amazing. So yeah, same here. No doctors at all. My grandma was a nurse. So, but same. My mom was like, since you were like 3, 4, you've never wanted to do anything different.
It's so funny. And it was really scary for my parents because in Ireland, you have 6 years of high school. It's called secondary school. And at the end of that 6 years, you have a few weeks where you sit exams, and they are massive exams, and they literally test things that you've learned over the last 6 years. I don't know if it's the same now as it was when I was in school there, but I see here with my children how their yearly score is broken up into percentages. So for a
Mhm.
project, that'll be worth 20%. For this
Yep.
thing, it'll be worth 20%. Not everything depends on that final exam. For us, everything depends on that final exam. It's called the leaving cert, so the leaving certificate.
Okay.
And kids kill themselves over this thing.
Oh my God.
And so you get this big form in your final year of high school called the CAO form, and you can put down everything you want to do on it. And I had like medicine in Dublin, medicine in Cork, medicine in Galway.
That was
And that was
everything.
a
So
me
6
that's
years
all I
was
had.
your high school?
Yeah, 6 years. So
So
you
it would
go
have
at
been like
12.
7th, 8th then? Like
Yes.
6th, 7th,
There's no
8th
middle school.
through. Okay, no middle school. Okay, so
There's
everyone.
primary school, which is elementary
Mhm.
school, and that finishes about at age 11, 12,
Okay,
and then you move into secondary school, which is for 6
okay.
years. So, when you're about 15 or so, you have to make certain decisions in school on topics that you're gonna do. So,
Mhm.
if I had gotten to my last year of school and I hadn't done biology, physics, and chemistry, I could
Yeah.
not have applied to medical school.
Right, right.
So, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you had to have, like, prereqs in order to apply. And then tell me how that went, because here in the United States, you've got high school and then 4 years of undergraduate training. Some, it's 3 years, and then you go right into primary care for med schools, but let's say for all like simplistic. So 4 years of high school, 4 years of undergrad, and then your medical school, your 4 years of medical school.
Yeah. So no, in Ireland going into medical school, we're all 18 or 19. So
So
I
you
would have
were like,
been,
this is what I'm going to do. Like you're in, you're in.
yeah.
There is no like, who knows at 18 what they want to do.
So that first year that I did the Leaving Cert, I didn't do well in physics. I did
Mhm.
really badly in physics. I couldn't understand a word
So
the teacher
daunting.
was saying to me.
It might as well
I
have been like a foreign language, don't you think?
Yeah, it was totally like a foreign language. And so you do 6 subjects in that last year for your exams, and you have to get 100% on each of those 6 subjects to get into medicine. So medicine is 600 points. There's 100 points for each subject. So, I got 5 something because I didn't
Right.
do well in physics, and I went straight back to school after the summer and did that whole year again, all those
So
subjects
like, would
again.
it be like your whole senior year again,
Your
or?
whole senior year. Yeah, but I think senior year here is, like, light, and you've
Yeah,
already kind of
yeah,
done all the important
yeah.
stuff, and it's
It's
kind
like
of a
easy peasy. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe your junior year again, something like
Yeah,
that?
that was probably, I think, was the hardest year.
Yeah, it would be the hardest year, so I went back to a different school, and I did all that again. Within a week of being in that school with a different teacher, I got A's in physics.
Mhm.
It was just I couldn't understand that teacher. I didn't know what he was talking
No,
about.
I've done the same thing, and as a matter of fact, my second oldest son just went through that. He, and he's a straight A student, very gifted, and he was like, "I am doing this advanced physics," and he's like, "They're just not
Right?
teaching me." This is not like him at all. I mean, he is the kid that can, like, get straight A's not doing anything,
Yeah.
and so we, all collectively decided, because there's 3 parents, that it was better for him to take a different type of physics than to struggle and get a terrible grade, which is gonna affect his GPA. He wants to go into medicine. It's crazy, and he's, like,
Yeah.
pulling straight A's now with just a
Yeah.
different. I know, isn't that
That's
crazy?
amazing. The way they did it in this other school was it was called the Institute. It was up in Dublin. It was a place where kids would go when they didn't get what they wanted to the first time around and they were just gonna do that 1 year. I
Okay,
had
so
such
it's
a
a
blast.
specific
Yeah, it
tool
was a
for that.
specific
Okay.
school for this, and they would give you worksheets. And honestly, within the first week, it all made sense. I could have gone back and sat the exam at that
Yeah.
point and gotten an A, but I had to do the whole year and all 6 subjects. Well, I was doing 7 subjects actually, and aced it the next year, got like 595, I think, out of
Mhm.
600, and did not get accepted again to medical school because I didn't hit the 600.
Yeah.
And, so I thought, right, well, I'm going back again. I literally was so blinkered. My thinking was so black and white. My parents were like, "What are you doing? Would you not
You're
do
like,
something
"What else are
medicine
you gonna do?"
adjacent?"
Right?
Like,
I would have
yeah,
done the
I
same
was like,
thing. There's
but
nothing else I wanna do.
I know. I
Sorry.
like literally there is nothing else. There was nothing else.
Yeah.
I'd just be cheating. I'd just be pretending if I put other
Yeah.
stuff down on that CAO form. So I was ready to go back and do it again. It was the summertime and I was working up in Dublin with my dad and I went to meet my bestie, Fiona, who the same thing had happened to her. She wanted to do medicine too. And she didn't get it the first year around. And we both went back. We ended up in separate schools, unfortunately. And we met up at lunchtime, and she said she had been accepted to 2 med schools, and she was gonna have to turn down one of them. And so we split up after lunch, and she made her phone call to turn down one of them, and I got back to the office, and my dad said, "Come in here, I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, he's after finding the vodka under the bed." And he goes, "The College of Surgeons just rang. You got in." So I know
I just
I
got
think I told
chills.
you that. Yeah. And so I was my friend Fiona's place, my best friend, who had given up that place to take one at a different school. That was her slot I got.
That's
Yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah.
I
I love
love
that
that story.
story.
I know, it gives me chills. I also did not get in my first time into medical school, and I would tell you that my first year in undergrad, I had to go 5 years because that first year was so hard for my brain to
Yeah.
understand the biology and then the physics, and I retook it and got A's in those classes. So you don't go from like, a C, F, D, C to an A. Your brain is figuring, you're still so young that you're figuring out how to learn and how to interpret the information.
Ab
I mean,
absolutely.
it's so
Yeah.
crazy. And that you sounds like you took almost like it's like the MCAT and like the ACTs together, right? Because
I
the
don't know what
MCAT
either of
for
those things are, but yes,
yeah, so the
probably.
ACT, and SATs are from high school in order to get
Okay.
into college.
Okay.
Your girls will sit for those at some point.
Mhm.
The MCAT is the medical school exam
Okay.
that you take from undergrad in order to get into medical school.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
and our scores similarly like that, and so I did not get in my first time either because my MCAT scores were too low,
Yeah.
and so I took a year off, studied, had Lexi, and then reapplied, and so
Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't care.
Amazing doing that with a
I was never
newborn.
again.
My God. But you know what? Years later, I hadn't talked to Fiona in years and years and years. And I was in hospital and I had had Lauren 2.5 years beforehand. And I had just had Alice and I was in the hospital bed. And for some reason, I picked up the phone and I said, Fiona, uh, wanted to say hi. I'm lying here in the hospital bed, just had my second baby. And I was thinking of you for some reason. And she texted back and said, I am in a hospital bed having had my baby. We had our like babies at the
No
same
way!
time. We're in the hospital beds at the same time, different countries. Just so weird, but connection, that
Yeah.
connection. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's amazing. And so
Mhm.
tell me about your experience as med student. So is it med school and kind of residency together once you then get out of high school, right? And you go right into med school. So it's like an
Yeah.
undergrad and med school together?
So it's 6 years long, and I
Okay.
think it's four
Yeah.
here, right? So the first year is pre med, where you're doing all the basics.
So that would be like our undergrad pre-med,
I
4
think
years of
so.
undergrad. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it's not until your fourth year, third, fourth year that you end up going near the hospitals at all.
Okay.
And then when you finished med school, towards the end of it, you're applying for schemes. They're called SHO schemes. SHO is it's a senior house officer. So you apply for that and you could end up anywhere in the country, just like here. But back when I was doing my residency in Ireland, you could still do your own family medicine residency. You could make it up yourself.
Okay.
So you would do a year of internship and then you had to do 4 6-month jobs. So you had to
Yeah.
do 6 months in psychiatry, 6 months in the hospital doing medicine and surgery,
Mhm.
6 months doing pediatrics, and 6 months in the adult ER.
Okay.
And then you did a year with a family doc working with them, supervising
Okay.
you. And then you would sit your exams.
Okay. So no OB, or was that mixed in?
No, OB did not have to be part of your residency
Okay.
training at all. Yeah, the OB was part of med school, but then you could, even if you were doing family medicine, you could leave OB out altogether.
Okay. Okay.
And it was just around that time that I was towards the end of doing all that, that they brought in actual schemes then, like properly designed and
Okay.
taught residencies. So
Okay.
I, I had done my own. And then Dave and I met working in the hospital, and he had always wanted to come over here and do a residency. And I just thought, well, I'll talk him out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you had no want of leaving.
No, I had no. So I had been to a fortune teller, this really famous fortune teller that you have to wait a long time to get. And she had said, "Oh, you're going to get married, you're going to have 2 kids, and you're going to live in the States." And I was like, "Well, that was a waste of money. I'm not doing any of those things."
How crazy was that? How long was that before this happened?
It was a few years. I just thought she was terrible, and I had wasted a lot of money.
I love it.
Yeah, it was funny. I think back to it often. I remember sitting there going, "She's shit. Like, she has no idea I
Yeah.
am never
Yeah,
getting
you're like,
married, and
"Okay."
I'm never
And then
having."
later on, were you like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. So Dave got he got a residency in Johns Hopkins then, so there
Mhm.
was no stopping him leaving.
Yeah, I bet not, especially
Yeah.
there.
So I said I was not going, and off he went, and then I went, "Crap."
Yep.
So I was working in the pediatric emergency room and had to do all my USMLEs that year.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Terrible.
I had to get squash them all into a
Mhm.
year and then apply for residencies, come over for interviews and everything, and got it all done in a year and moved over the year after him, 2004.
And then you did
Started another
residency.
residency.
Yeah. Now that you've done 2 in 2 different countries, what differences did you see between the 2?
So in Ireland, you had these long stints when I was
Mhm.
doing it. So I really got to settle into my job. I mean, I learned an extraordinary amount being in psychiatry for 6 months and an extraordinary amount being in pediatrics for six
Yeah.
months. Like just these incredible experiences. I was able to sink into it, learn so much. When I started residency here in America, that was the beginning of my sympathetic nervous system being activated for me. I was in a constant state of
Yep.
panic. Constant. And I didn't even realize it at the time.
Yep.
I mean, every month you would
Yep.
change what hospital you were in, what team you were working in, what specialty you were in. I would never, for those 3 years, I never slept the night before I changed jobs. And that was
Mhm.
once a month. I would go in having had no sleep. And our residency was designed for 12 or 13 residents,
Mhm.
and there were only 8 of us. And so for 3 years,
A
the
lot of
8
work.
of us had to cover 12, 13 resident spots. And
Yeah.
so we basically ended up doing Q2 call for 3 years.
Mhm.
It was they kept promising us. When I interviewed, it was, you do Q2, then you do
Yeah.
Q3, then you do by the
Yep.
time you're in your last year, you're doing
Yeah, yeah.
Q4. Yeah. For anyone listening who's not in medicine, Q2 means every 2 nights you're on
Yep.
call. Q3 every 3 nights, Q4 every 4
Yep.
nights. And our residency director, I adored him, but he was just his love was OB. So we were on OB all the time, always on OB call as well. And so it was really OB heavy residency. And I hadn't done any OB
Mhm.
in Ireland, really, not much.
Mhm.
I had a month in OB in Ireland, and it was the month of there was a big nursing strike in Ireland that month.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we weren't
Right.
allowed to do anything. The
'Cause you didn't
nurses
have
were like,
anyone.
you go into that room and you're going to have enemies for life.
Not worth
The
it.
month the month I was on OB, I didn't do OB. Yeah, it was very, very different. It was very stressful over here. We had
Yeah.
so much fun in Ireland at work. We worked 120 hours a week and we did 36-hour calls.
Yep.
You go into the
Yep.
hospital and you leave 36 or 40
Yep.
hours later.
'Cause
You'd
would
have
you do
a day off
office, like,
and
the
you'd go
next
back.
day? Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
would do overnight and then half
Oh,
day
yeah.
office day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never remember being tired or not loving it. We had so much fun. You had joked around with the patients, you joked around with each other. And when I came over to America, I did not
Right.
find that.
There's
It was so serious. It was
Yeah.
such a massive culture shock. Like so serious. And then there would be these morning report type things and morbidity and mortality meetings
Yep.
where people would literally, colleagues would stab each other in the back. I mean, I was just like, what
Isn't it crazy? It's
looking glass have I fallen through? Like,
Yeah.
this is hell.
Yeah. So it seemed like Ireland was more like nurturing and this community in med school residency. And then you get over here, we talk so much about hazing and being just completely abused and, the power of, and maybe it was worse for women. I don't know. I just think the whole thing was malignant,
Yeah,
period.
it
It
did.
didn't matter if you were female or male.
Yeah. I found the atmosphere, the
Mhm.
environment was the biggest
Yeah.
problem for me because I was no longer having fun. And that
Yeah.
probably had to do with the amount we were working as well, like how we
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
have a lot of time off. The only people I knew those 8 people in my residency, and I knew the 2 years ahead of me and,
Yeah.
my direct mentors, but, like,
Yeah.
I had no family, I had no friends outside of that, so when I was off, I had no one to see, to spend
Yeah.
time with. It was so lonely, and Dave was doing a residency in a different hospital.
Oh,
So it was really lonely, and I just couldn't wait to get back to Ireland. I just thought we were going to do this for like 5 years and then we'd go back because
yeah.
that happens a lot in Ireland. Because there are X amount of attending positions in Ireland. So, say there are 6 neurosurgeons in Ireland.
Mhm.
You have to wait until one of those neurosurgeons retires or dies before that
To
job
get a
will
job.
open up. Yes, to get a job.
Okay.
So you
That's
can be a resident or a fellow in Ireland for
yeah,
your entire career and never make it to be an attending.
that's wild.
Yeah. And so one shortcut that some doctors found was to go to America or go to Australia or go to Canada, complete a residency and a fellowship there, and come back to Ireland as an attending. And
So
then
you
you would
automatically would that be so you would automatically be an attending and be able to, like, open your own practice or join something?
no, but you'd be a more attractive option than a
Got it.
lot of doctors in Ireland who might have been in fellowship or, for many years and
Okay.
had applied a few times. And here was this new person with this amazing looking CV who'd done all this research in America or whatever, and now was coming back. And that might be more attractive then when a spot
Got it.
did open up. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So I thought that was Dave's plan. And yeah, so
No?
we ended
And
up
then he fell in love?
yeah, he always wanted to stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves it here.
That was so
Um,
tricky. It was a little trickster.
he knew damn well. So we ended up staying in Baltimore for 12 years, and then we moved over here to Portland in 2015. So we've been here for 11 years,
Yeah.
20 years here at least. Like Dave had a different experience in his residency. He had a ton of fun. They always got together and had drinks after work and things like that. I think a lot of it had to do with my actual
Just where
residency
you were.
and how there were so
Yeah.
few of us and there
Yeah.
was all this extra work to be done and covered. And so we didn't get the same experience
No.
as some others. Yeah.
No. No. Even though it was hard, I feel like I still enjoyed it too,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
So then went into family medicine, employed
Mhm.
or direct primary care, or tell me kinda what you decided to do.
So because I had been here on a J1 visa for my residency, I then had to pay back 3 years. So I had to work in a medically underserved area for 3 years, and then I could pick any job that I wanted to,
Okay.
go
Okay.
apply for any job. So I had done a lot of emergency room work in my residency at the University of Maryland. And the doctor who was in charge of the residency program there, Dr. Brian Brown, he was amazing. He said, I want you to come work for me. So he found me a place that was about an hour and 40 minutes drive away, one of the hospitals he had some staff at, and he put me down there. So I was working in the emergency room. And then the hospital broke their contract with him when I had been there for a year, and they were hiring a different group of doctors, and they only employed ER docs. They didn't employ family docs. And so I had to find another place to go for the next 2 years. So I went to a clinic called Chase Braxton Health Services in
Okay.
Baltimore, which was we did mainly HIV care. We were family medicine, so we took care of everything.
Okay.
But we really focused on folk who had HIV and AIDS and the LGBTQ
Mhm.
community as well. So that was a wonderful setting. Like our patients, there was a lot of joy there. We had a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But upper management changed while I was
Yeah.
there. And they say a fish rots from the head down. My
Yeah.
God, I really got to see that in action. And one by one, people started to leave and it became
Yeah.
more and more miserable. And I think I was there for about 4 years by the time I left. I gave them 6 months' notice. I was pregnant at the time, so that was going to coincide with me taking some maternity
Yeah.
leave anyway. And I never went. I didn't go back then. They knew I wasn't going back. But they'd had plenty of time to replace me. Then my Brian Brown had always kept in contact with me, and he said, "Now you can come back to me." So I went back to work at the emergency room at the University of Maryland then,
Okay.
and I was there until um, I moved to Portland in 2015.
Okay. And
I
then what
had
did you
great fun working in the ER. I mean,
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I didn't do ER, but I moonlighted in urgent care when I first got out to help supplement income, because
yeah.
people think that, we get out and we're making a bazillion dollars as
Mhm.
family medicine docs, and so that's just not
Not
the
even
case.
minimum wage.
No.
No.
So, yeah, it was great. It's a really great way to prove your skills, I think,
And it's so much primary care because
it is.
people couldn't find they
No,
didn't have a primary care
they didn't
doctor,
have
so they
them, they
came to
can't
the
get to
ER for
them. Right.
everything.
Yep, or
Yes.
they just didn't go to one, right? They just didn't go
Yeah.
to one.
I did all the same stuff in the ER that I did in
Yeah.
family medicine clinic, and then some more exciting stuff too. It was
Yeah.
downtown Baltimore. I
Yeah.
mean,
Ooh,
we were a shock trauma center,
yeah.
so it was
So that's
never
scary.
boring.
And then did primary care in Portland
Yes.
as did you do I know you've done some, like, DPC work. Was that always direct primary care that you've done or
Yeah, I think I went to direct primary care without realizing it. So I was looking for a part-time job because the kids were really small when we moved
Yeah.
here. And I found one out at it was for a direct primary care company, but they would place you in within a company and you'd be their primary care doctor. And so there was no insurance issues or anything like that. And so I worked out at this place called Heister Yale, which is out here in Fairview in Portland. And I was there for over 7 years. And those guys were my family. I mean, I just love them so much. I still keep in contact with a lot of them. And they were mainly men. It was an engineering company.
Okay.
And the doctors who had been there before me had had their own practices outside. And this was just a little bit of side work from them. And
Okay.
people would tell me they never really felt like the doctor was very invested. And so they didn't get that feeling from me. Like that's all I was doing. I was out there.
Yeah.
And it was
And so
lovely.
adult care, or
Adult
was it
care.
their families too?
No, I was
Okay, so
told
the employees.
yeah, because when I applied, I said it's important to me that I see children, like I need to keep that up
Yeah.
because I was always seeing kids in the ER as well. And they said, yes, we have plans next year to open it up to all employees' families. And I was there for nearly 8 years and that did not
Never.
happen. No. So, it was so nice for the employees working there because they didn't have to take time off to go have their yearly physical or their pap smear
Yeah.
or their blood pressure medicine
Yep.
refilled or, it was
So
just
they just,
really
like, would
nice.
go down the hall from their job or wherever they were, the
Yes.
office, and they
Yes.
could do
I
that.
had a little office downstairs, myself and the nurse.
Yeah.
And people would come down. A lot of people would come for support, really, almost like a little bit of therapy once a
Yeah.
week, and support.
Yeah.
And then, with COVID and everything, I saw a lot of changes there too. And I saw these people who I'd known for all that time become more and more sick and stressed.
That's
And yeah,
a hard time.
it is hard time. A lot of people being let go as
Yep.
well for
Yep.
financial reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never really truly got it. You weren't, the traditional employed physician, and so the direct primary care was that. I mean, was that in an employed? I guess was that an employed position, but it was direct primary care, so it was a little bit different, or was it like an independent contracted position?
Yeah, so I worked for a company called Care Here, and they employed doctors and they built a clinic within that different
Got it.
company, and then you would be in that Care Here clinic.
Okay.
And so Hyster, which is the engineering company, were paying Care Here to have a doctor placed within their company.
Okay.
And so all their employees have Blue Cross Blue Shield
Right.
insurance. So, and back then, even a few years ago, everything was covered. If you were
Yep.
insured, you didn't need a
Mhm.
prior authorization for
Yep.
your abdominal ultrasound or anything. I could just order it and it would get done. And then after I left there, I went to work at a primary care clinic called AIM Health. And that was a more of a concierge clinic. So you pay a yearly fee. It was like
Yep.
$1,000. And then you could have 1 hour long or 30
Yep.
minute long appointments with your doctor. And so I just got to spend so much time with my patients. My colleagues were amazing. I had a blast.
Yeah, that's
Then I started to get into menopause care.
yes,
And
I mean,
then that all took off. I was like, oh, okay, I don't
and
want to
then
do
you
anything else.
yeah, and then you decided at this point in time that you're gonna do your own thing and
Mhm.
build your own practice and become a founder and, my own boss. I wanna have my own rules. I wanna do
Yeah.
this be a businesswoman, really.
Yeah. I think it was I'd had a lot of flexibility at my previous job with the engineering company,
Yeah,
and to a certain extent, because there were other Care Here clinics around Portland. And if someone was taking time off, often one of the doctors at another site would come and cover those days while you were away because most of the sites were part-time. And
mhm,
so people were often looking for some more hours, and it was never really a problem. But then when I moved to the other primary care clinic, We were a lot more restricted on what time we could take off. It was a busy clinic and there were a lot of patients to be seen.
Wow.
And each doctor knew their patients so well that when they took time off, it was difficult for that patient to see a different
Yeah.
doctor. I definitely realized around that time, this is not going to work that well for me
Yeah.
because I was so stressed. Like every time it was coming up to a work day, I swear one of the kids got a fever
Yeah.
or some like, you know,
Sabotage.
it was just
You know
so stressful. Right, and it's always down to me to take
Yeah.
time off work and stay home with the
Right.
child if they were sick,
Sure,
always.
sure. Because you just were part-time or that was just the way that you and your husband, set up the family? I mean, I
There was
think most of us
never any
moms are that way.
mention of
Yeah.
Dave taking time off work to stay home with the kids. No. I think it was just expected that I would do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
and whether that was because my job was part-time or I don't know, but that
Or
was the way
gender
it was.
roles.
So I really felt the strain of that, and it
Yeah.
was a constant worry for me because they would never get sick on, like, a Friday night, it
Never.
was
Never.
always Monday night when I'd go into work on Tuesday morning. So, and that was happening, and I was doing more and more work at home, like, these were really detailed notes I was doing
Yeah.
and delving into a lot of our patients were Medicare patients, and they'd
Yep.
have, like, 70 years of medical information I had to catch up on.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting up till midnight doing notes because I can't I think in family medicine, a lot of people find we're real perfectionists. Like we don't do a half job
Yeah.
on anything. If we're
Yeah.
doing something, we throw ourselves into it 100%. And I thought, I can't sustain this. Like, I
A
can't
lot.
seem to change my personality and change how I do my notes and how
Yep.
much I
Like
delve
one of
into
your kids.
things. Right, so then I need to switch up, and it was around that time I was thinking, "God, I really wish I had specialized in something." Like, there have been so many updates and changes in primary care, it's so hard to keep up.
It's so hard to keep up.
It
There's
is, there's
so much. So you
right,
are
I mean,
either just doing basic stuff and sending off to everybody because you
which I
cannot,
can't because I'm just
right?
would be
It makes well,
mortified that I hadn't
we weren't
done everything
trained
in my
that
power.
way. Yeah, we weren't trained that way, I don't think, first of all, because really when we trained, it was that you knew everything,
Yes,
for the most
yes.
part. But I agree, I think just as things are getting complex and there's more AI stuff and it's so difficult. I can't even think I'll keep all the osteoporosis
I
medications in my head
know.
straight. I'm like, "I'm not doing that."
I know. And,
Yeah,
when you and I started delving down into menopause, for part of my excitement was that I was thinking, God, might I finally be able to like be a specialist in
yeah,
something like where I
yeah,
really know all the details?
it
I know a lot about cardiology. I know a lot about
yep,
neurology, but there comes a point where I have to say to my patient, now I need to refer you
yes,
because we've tried
yes,
A, B, and C and it's not working
yep,
and we need help. And I was always coming to that point,
yeah.
and that's fine. That's how it's supposed to work. But there came a point where I felt like I knew less and less about
Yep.
each thing. I
I
just
think because
couldn't
we
keep up.
do. I think that is a trajectory. The smartest we probably ever were right out of residency. And then as those years go on, and I think there were just some studies about that too, continuing how our knowledge base decreases the further away from residency we
Right.
go.
Right.
And yeah, and it's because of that. Like you cannot see that amount of patients every single day and still devote the time that we did in residency to studying and doing you just can't do it and then have a family
No.
and all those things.
Yeah. And then even like our board exams for family medicine, or, even if you choose to do the questions that they send you
Mhm.
once a quarter, so many of them are on obstetrics, for instance. Like I
Yeah,
haven't done obstetrics
yeah,
now in
yeah.
10 or whatever years. I
Yep,
have no interest in obstetrics. I will never
nope,
touch it again, touch
nope,
wood. So
nope,
what the hell do I need to go and study
yep,
all about obstetrics for just to answer
right.
these
All the fetal
questions?
heart I remember that my first
Yes.
recertification, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
haven't delivered
Nightmare.
babies." Yeah.
Uh-huh. I
So
know.
the new questions are, I feel like, at least a bit more reasonable, right?
Yes.
So, like, I don't know,
Absolutely.
for AOA now it's 10 questions a quarter, that we have to
Mhm.
answer and then whatever case reviews and
Yeah.
chart reviews and things like
Yeah.
that. But
No, that works much better.
it's makes so much more sense than sitting down. I was like, how am I going to sit down and retake this test at 50 years old that I did? I mean, I just,
Sure, Rebecca, I can't even remember like the six-digit code when it says, log into your
I
email and give us
know,
the six-digit code.
me either. I don't even know my kids' phone numbers for crying
Right.
out loud.
I
Putting
know.
my
And
phone.
when I'm calling to like make my child an appointment for the dentist and they're like, what's their
Yes.
date of birth? There's literally a long pause while I figure out their date of birth,
Yes. I'm
I
like, for
can't
this
sit an
was,
exam.
no, no, there's absolutely no way. And so
No.
now this movement into now just like now that you're full into your own practice, is it I mean, there's so many things, right? So being an authority in this space, a woman physician, being visible, being vocal, and sometimes controversial, all of us, I think, clinician burnout and social media as medical
Disruptors.
education. Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, all of those things, how have you embraced all of that?
It's a lot.
Mhm.
I wish social media was not part of my life. I know now over the last few years that I have ADHD, and being on that phone or trying to make videos, I get caught up in it and I lose
Yep.
hours of my life. And that's hours with my children that I could have, or
Right.
hours where I could be out playing a sport or going
Yeah.
for a walk or anything. So I really wish, honestly, social media didn't have to be part of it, but it is a big part of
It
it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
The other good part about social media is we can educate
Yes.
and it
Yes.
provides like a connection point for all of us. Like, think of all the people that we've met just messaging
Yeah.
each other on Instagram to go,
Yep.
oh my God, that was such a great post. Thank you for making that. And then they answer back and then you connect. And the next meeting you're at, you meet in real
Yes.
life. Like, it's been
Yes.
wonderful for that.
Yeah, how do you think midlife for you has changed the way that you show up professionally?
I think all those years as a physician, I knew I didn't have to have diabetes to help a patient with diabetes.
Mhm.
I didn't have to have had a baby to help a woman have her baby safely. But I do think as a doctor, when you have been through something yourself, it opens up a whole new level of empathy and
Yep.
understanding and kindness that you didn't even know existed. So for me, when I listen to my patients and they start crying in the middle of their appointment, telling me how their life is falling apart, I can truly empathize with that. I have been through that and I
Mhm.
can reassure them that they will come out the other side. So I think I'm a better doctor for having had my life fall apart.
Yeah. Going through it, I think it makes a big
Yeah.
difference, absolutely. And what do you think younger clinicians get wrong about midlife care? What can they learn from
Yeah,
us,
I
from you?
think if I could go back and talk to myself or talk to younger clinicians, I would say you need to be more curious and question things more. Like, when I think back to when I was in orthopedics and we were talking about plantar fasciitis, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, frozen shoulder. And you were taught this happens to women in their 40s and 50s. And never once did I think, well, why is that? And never once did anyone say that's because their hormones are dropping
Mhm.
and their body
Mhm.
becomes really inflamed. Their hormones are anti inflammatory. They lose them. They get a lot of inflammation. And so you're
Yeah.
going to see women this age coming in because of that. Never once was that mentioned. And I never connected those dots. And every specialty I can think of, there was a tagline, this happens to women in their
Mhm.
40s and 50s.
Yep.
Um, so I think I would love to get that across to the younger doctors. When you hear words like that spoken, ask why. Just ask one more question.
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Yep.
And always keep a hormone cause on your list of differentials because we have found out over the last few years that they are the key to so much of what goes wrong in our bodies. And a lot of it is preventable.
It is. Yep.
Mm.
What about one piece of advice for midlife women who are founding women at this stage? So, one piece of advice for midlife women who are to start something different and new.
Yeah, I think to find some other women who have already done it and connect
Mhm.
with them because there is no way I would ever have left an employed position without you and Christine doing it at the same time. No way. It never occurred to me that I could have my own practice or work on my own, make my own schedule. I was like a fish on dry land. I just didn't know it was possible.
Hmm.
So that's what I would say. Find other women who've done it, connect with them, and you're stronger together. You
Yeah,
know, there's so much business out there. There are so many women who
there is.
need help. You don't have to be in competition with each other. You can help each other and work together and be stronger together.
Yep, I agree. A support network of other women that have, even if it's not in the same niche as yours, but just business
Hmm.
women. We talk to how many other women in business do we talk to too that it's maybe not in medicine, but they've
Yeah.
been owning their own business for so long. It makes such a big difference. And then,
Yes.
the last thing is I'm a firm believer that women, all clinicians, but women clinicians are mentors to our younger generation. And it's so important that we are mentors to them because we know things now that we were never taught in med school and residency, the business of medicine,
Yes.
what you could do, what you can do now. And so, any tips of advice for just our younger female women who are going into med school or going into residency or thinking about medicine and any takeaways for them?
Yeah. I just love them to know that when they look around and they see colleagues working in the hospital or working in a clinic, there is a whole other world out there that you haven't been exposed to yet. So keep looking, keep making connections. Like you and I and Christine are about to start tutoring for
Yeah.
the University of South Wales, right?
Yep.
Whoever thought
Yep.
we would be tutors at the University of South Wales? Did you
It's
know that
so
job
exciting.
existed? Right.
No. And I
Oh,
sometimes I'm like, "That's so cool. Am I really doing that? That's so
I
cool."
know. And I was recently contacted by a doctor who works at a big group of hospitals here, Providence Hospital. And she said, we have our own kind of up to date system, and our doctors within our system are supposed to look at this information when they're making medical decisions. Would you be
Yeah,
interested in doing the menopause
that's
information,
amazing.
or yeah,
Yeah.
helping with that? Just jobs I never knew existed
Uh-huh.
that are out there. So keep a very open mind, make as many connections as you can. Don't burn any bridges ever.
Right. You never know if you have to walk over it.
Exactly. Yeah. And just know that you do not have to be stuck working
Yeah.
in a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, doing notes all weekend.
Yeah.
There are other options out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And learn the business of medicine. I think that it really needs to be taught in medical school and in residency both. I would love to see that happen. But if you can take some type of business course, I mean, it's really truly a travesty because I really feel like I'm like, there's got to be a reason we're not taught in medical school and residency the business of medicine.
Yeah.
I
They
feel like
don't want you to know.
exactly. I feel
Yes.
like because they are training you to be plucked out to be an employed physician and a
Yes.
hamster on the wheel.
Yes.
I will stand by that until I am, in the
They
grave.
don't want disruptors. They don't
I
want
really
thinkers.
feel that way. Don't you feel that way?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and you don't realize it. I didn't realize that. Then you get caught up in family and work and you're working so much and all the things. And then all of a sudden your brain maturity level. Or maybe we just get to the point where we just don't have any more what's left in our
Yes,
bottle, and you're like, "Wait a second, this is not right."
right.
And so I want everyone to have that light bulb moment 20 years prior than when
Yes,
I had that light bulb.
yes. I love it, and I really do think that is so, so true, and
Yeah.
I would say even especially more for women. Like, we're
Yes.
really encouraged to take employed
Yes.
positions and
Yes, because we're having kids and you wanna have a family and it's so much easier and you don't have to worry about it and the insurance, all the things, and then you
yes,
wanna make sure that you're paying off your loans that you have the CME programs are women in leadership and women in business and, those types of things where it needs to be, and one of the things I will say in Chicago, there's that Women in Medicine event in September, and that is medical students are invited and any women in medicine and talk so much about just the business and the leadership aspects that women can
mhm,
hold. So important for anyone to check that out if they have time because it was just a really great event.
yeah.
So, well, where can everyone find you, my friend, besides the Dusty Muffins?
On Instagram a lot, which is at Portland Menopause Doc, and my website is portlandmenopausedoc.com.
And you are tell women in Washington and in Oregon for midlife women's care. Tell
Yes.
them a little bit about,
I
your
do
practice there.
telemedicine. I have a 6-month program that I do with my patients, where we see each other every 6 weeks for 6 months and get you feeling back to yourself. It's all telemedicine visits. It works really well. And then you use your insurance for blood tests or bone density scans or anything like that.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. And thanks for
My
doing it
pleasure.
on a Sunday at the time of the recording before Super Bowl. We're 3 hours. Eva is 3 hours behind me. So
Yeah.
also, doing that on a time difference can be crazy as well. And it sounds like your family is going to be doing some things to watch it. Mine definitely is. I think some of my kiddos are coming over. So that should be fun.
Oh,
I know.
lovely.
I know. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time. All right, all. If this conversation resonated with you, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to hear it, whether it be a colleague, a student, a woman ready to think differently about her health and her future. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support this work and helps this content reach more people, more women who need it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow the show and leave a review. Those reviews matter more than you realize and help other listeners find the series. You can also follow me across platforms for more education on all the social, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, for more education, clinical insights, and founders content. For clinicians, you can earn CME if you listen to this on the Pinnacle app. And if you want to learn more about how we approach midlife care, hormone optimization, metabolic health, you can find me at Osteopathic Midlife Health. So as always, this series exists to help you think differently about your body, your career, and your future. Because the next decades of your life deserve intention, strength, and clarity. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time on the Founder Series.